good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. Because wherever you are, it's going to be some part of the day. And right now, it's just afternoon as of this time when I am recording this. Trying to brush my hair, but it's still kind of wonky. Probably need to get some conditioner in it or something because it's really frizzy. Maybe to trim it. Anyhow, good day, or good night, or buenos dias, or buenas noches, or what other languages in the comments for me and see if I can read that. So, fun fact, I am on fun facts still, and I thought I'd give you a different view here. Sometimes when I'm put the computer this way, it gets really dark over here, even though it's bright out. So I thought, we'll try a different thing so you can see how my face is wearing out. So this is 156. This is fun fact number 156, and it's chapter 14 of Children of Light, just what you've been waiting for. Chapter 14 of Children of Light, and it's called The Festival. So let's hear some happiness. What do you think? I think there's some happiness in here. There's some happiness somewhere. Okay, look, it just got dark again. Oh well, we'll do the best we can. How's that? Gotta put on my nerd glasses because I am reading to you. This is chapter 14 of Children of Light, fun fact number 156, The Festival. They traveled 2 days to get to the mesa near Mount Neutrino. Mount Neutrino was still days away from the site of the festival. They sang and danced their way to the mesa. It was beautiful. It was similar to the mesas in what was once known as New Mexico on Earth. They arrived at the mesa as the sun set. The colors were so many magnificent glowing hues that everyone stopped to look up and admire the painting of the sky. Newly? Yes, Trevor? You look you look you look different. You're beautiful. When we thought you were dead, Trevor looked down at his hands. I realized. There was silence. Trevor stood up and walked away. Newly stood up and walked after him. She found him standing on the edge of the mesa, looking out toward the horizon. Trevor? She questioned as she placed her hand on his back. He turned his head so they were face to face. His eyes were full of stars and dreams. His face was wet from the overflow. I love you too, she said, and they embraced. The music began. Dancing and bonfires all intertwined in the darkness of the night without stars. The mesa glowed with warmth. The songs were strange and beautiful. At one point, everyone sat down. Ryan arose and went to the center of the circle. She began to dance slowly, as a branch waving slowly in the wind. The music joined her and seemed to follow her more than she followed the music. She twirled around and moved her hands up and down. At that point, lights emerged from the blackened sky. Stars shot around the sky, chasing one another and chasing the darkness away. The sky was a velvet carpet holding glitter and being shaken. A clear path in the sky was made, and through the path the comets flew, illuminating the planet. Ryan collapsed. One struck the mesa and glowed. Trevor held Newly in fear and awe. Tox grabbed Tylo and held her close in dance. Vladimir, the brave with the brave Samaj on his shoulders, stood at the edge of the mesa with one arm around Aura and one around Pace. Just a minute. I've got to let a cat out because he's meowing and he's grabbing at my leg. Hold on. Ugh. Maybe I can edit that out. We'll see. Okay, let's start with Vladimir. Let's see if that's help. Vladimir, with the brave Samaj on his shoulder, stood at the edge of the mesa, with one arm around Ora and one around Pace. He laughed and said, "They play." He squeezed the two women at his side, and they all laughed. Andrea stood alone. Sips stood by her. He gently touched her hand and then held it. Andrea slowly turned towards the rusty brown-looking man and looked into his green eyes. His long black hair flowed gently behind him. She raised her other arm over her head with her palm flat towards Sips. He copied her motion and touched palms with her. They raised their other hand over their heads. With arms overhead, palms touching, they danced and stared into each other's eyes. The sky glowed. The sky glowed. Hobarth ran to Ryan's side. She lay in the dust, in the glow of the fire. He tried to wake her, but he could not. Her body was wet with perspiration. He could find no pulse. Ariel drifted by him and said, melodically, "She is up there, playing with the stars and comets. She brings new life back with her. My Repzaj, perhaps, this time." He lifted her damp, dusty, and wet body to a quiet area, away from the dancing and laughter and song. He wept. He stroked her head, her lips, and her hair. "Come back to me, my angel. Don't leave me this way." "Love? Love?" He rested his head on her stomach and slept so peacefully and had such fantastic dreams. He was up in the stars with Ryan. They danced and sang. They slid on comets and danced on stars. Then they entered an enormous space. She whispered, "This is where the universe began." Carefully. He walked slowly and carefully, though there was nothing to walk on and nothing to see or touch. Far ahead of them was a pool of water and a great light. A voice that came from nowhere, yet anywhere, everywhere at once said, "Have a drink from the pool." And they did. "Help me bring back the new lives, Hobarth?" "Yes, yes." 3 lights fell on his shoulders. 3 fell on Ryan's shoulders. "Repzaj?" Hobarth asked. On his shoulder 1 light glowed brighter than the others. "Ariel awaits you," Hobarth said. Ryan smiled. They floated to the top of Mount Neutrino, and there they saw the universe and the beauty of the atom. Creation floated in and out of their minds. Wonderful, wonderful, sweet dream. Butterflies. When Hobarth woke up, Ryan was still lying motionless beneath him. He raised her hand gently and kissed it. Her eyes fluttered open. Butterflies, thought Hobarth. She smiled. She stretched her arms over her head and yawned. Hobarth laid flat on top of her when she stretched, and he stretched his arms to meet hers. She stopped when he crawled on top of her and looked into his eyes. She knew that souls meeting in love was a magical event, but the sensations she felt now were quite different from anything she had felt before. His body was so close and warm, soft, yet his body was so close and warm and soft, yet firm. His breath was like life itself. She did not know what to think. It scared her a bit, but was quite exciting too. Hobarth raised her head and touched her soft hair and kissed her. He would have continued touching and kissing and melding his body with hers, but someone tapped him on the shoulder. He rolled off Ryan and sat up beside her as Ryan sat up. 6 Starions, about Hobarth's height, stood fresh and clean before them. One put his right palm out and swept it from his left wrist over his head back to his right hip and said, "Hi, Hobarth," enthusiastically. He was pale and had brown hair to the bottom of his ears and large brown eyes. 4 others were also male. One was pale lavender, another was pink, another was yellow, and the last was a soft green. They all swept their hands in the same manner and said, "Hi, Hobarth!" A fairly petite young woman slid out from behind the 5 men. She whispered sweetly, "Hello, Hobarth." She was blacker than anything Hobarth had ever seen. Her hair came to her waist and was straight and black, with streaks of auburn brown feathers. Her eyes were dark purple. She smiled. She had her arms crossed with her hands open-palmed at her shoulders. She spread open her arms and slowly smiled until her smile was as wide as her lips could reach and her arms were parallel with the ground. Hobarth stood up and hugged her. He turned and looked at Ryan. She smiled. "Hobart, meet Repjaz, Fleck, Meador, Barth, Talbot, and Sparl." Each stepped forward as their names were called. "These are the new life created by the positive energy of the Comet Festival," said Ryan. "You mean it wasn't a dream?" Hobarth asked. Ryan just smiled. "We shall return to the village now," said Ryan. They joined the others and discussed the festival and the return to the village. "I would prefer to journey to the top of Mount Neutrino. The great mountain has called to me since the great battles," said Quark. "The journey is a dangerous one on foot, Quark. Perhaps you should wait," said Ryan. "No, I would like to go now." "Then you must have a guide, if we can find a volunteer, for none return from Mount Neutrino if they travel by foot or evaporate." "I shall guide him, Ryan." Illo poked his head out from behind a few others standing near. "That is a very brave offer, Illo, but I fear we will miss you and your presence," said Ryan. "Why not take him in a form and manner that return both of you unharmed to us?" "I must guide him, and this is the way we must journey," Illo said. "Then you must," Ryan said. "We shall supply you with what you shall need for the journey. Are you sure you would not prefer to spirit travel?" Ryan asked once more. Illo grabbed Quark's hand and said, "We are sure." The bond between the 2 men had grown strong. They had been rivals once, but now held each other with great respect and love. Not like the men on Aphrodite, or as father and son, but as 2 men who have touched the core of their feelings and opened their hearts and eyes to life. They were comrades. They were the best of friends. They shared the knowledge of the ages. They realized they cared so deeply about each other to the point that their existence depended on the other. They realized they could not cry in front of each other. They realized they could cry in front of each other, and no harsh words would be said, only grins of support. "It is 2 days' journey to the base of the mountain if you travel day and night. I do not know how long it will take to reach the top, or if it is possible, but good luck to you both," Ryan said as they prepared Illo's and Quark's packs. "No one, not even the Sinars, have attempted such a journey. I do not know if it is possible. You shall be the first to try. I feel proud of both of you and will miss you both dearly." Tylo had grabbed Hobarth aside while Ryan prepared Quark and Illo for their journey. "Hobarth, you are in good favor with Ryan now. I see that. Now is your chance to extinguish her life. Then we can be together forever." "You haven't fallen for her tricks, have you, Hobarth?" Tylo asked. "I noticed you in talks," said Hobarth. "I have to play along too, don't I? He means nothing to me. I hate him. I despise him. He is pitiful. He is grotesque. He is the worst. He is so simple." "Methinks the lady doth protest too much." "What is that supposed to mean?" I want you by my side, not him. He means nothing to me." "Perhaps he should." "What is that supposed to mean? Don't you care for me anymore?" "Of course I do. I'm just confused." "Ryan can do that." "So can you." Hobarth walked away. Tylo yelled after him, "She's turned you against me. What about your promise?" Hobarth, who had been lonely most of his life, now found himself pursued by two unusual women. The first woman he met and took into his heart was Tylo. She also had to be the most beautiful female gnomon he had met. And then there was Ryan. Her essence exuded softness and warmth. She was the most beautiful woman he had met in any galaxy. He knew she was the one he had been resisting since they landed on the planet, but he did not know why. He found no resistance with Tylo. This must mean something. Perhaps it was a warning from his psyche not to believe what you see, not to trust yourself. Oh, it's all too confusing, Hobart said aloud. What's confusing? Vladimir asked. Two women, Hobart said. I've got two women. I'm in love with them. They are fantastic. Even though they are from different species and cultures, they get along marvelously, Vladimir said. Mine don't, Hobart said, exasperated. Well, that's your problem then, smiled Vladimir. No, one of them is not right. She lies to me. She's just using me, Hobart said. Well, you're the telepath. Shouldn't you be able to tell which one and choose the other? Vladimir asked. That's the main point. I can't. My gifts are useless to me, Hobart said, even more exasperated than before. Then follow your heart, Vladimir said. But if that's wrong, the one deceiving me is very tricky. She may be guiding my heart or ruling my head, Hobart said. I'm ready to give up on the thought and become a hermit. Well, you'll just have to choose blindly, like we all do, and hope for the best, said Vladimir said. Hey, you two, what are you chatting about? Andrea blurted as she bounced towards them with a huge smile on her face. Hobart and Vladimir sighed in unison. Women. Andrea giggled. Well, we're moving out and on, so let us end this conversation of yours with a footnote. Shall we? Sure, Hobart said. What? Said Vladimir questioned. She sighed and went, Men, as she screwed her eyes back in her head and smiled. The two men erupted with laughter and began walking towards the group, ready to go back to the village. Hobart forgot his problems for a while. That night they rested around the fire. Ariel announced a great event. The joining of souls is a special event. Trevor and Newly have another word for it, marriage. We have no ceremony for when two souls join. It just happens. Sometimes a soul can find more than one soul that its heart has found love in. This is possible. Vladimir can attest to that. But this marriage thing binds the souls exclusively together for life. It can't be broken, though. Newly has suggested and pleaded with us to create a new ceremony with some of our ideas and beliefs, with their marriage beliefs, and create a new ceremony for the joining. We congratulate them now. All the human forms, except for the gnomons and true humans, turned to brilliant lights, and beautiful music played. Everyone slept. That's the end of Chapter 14 of Children of Light, The Festival. Next will be Chapter 15. Do you want to know the title? You want to know the title. It's called Love and Boredom. Let's see what happens next. Ciao, Bellas.